This week we'll talk about the release of MetPy 0.11 and some of the things that are in it. Welcome to the 100th MetPy Monday. Hello, I'm John Lehman, a software engineer for Unidata. This week we're celebrating 100 weeks of MetPy, and what more fitting thing to do than talk about a new release of MetPy. So I wanted to show you how to read the release notes, because this is something that I really encourage you to do for every release of packages that you use, especially something that's evolving very quickly, like MetPy is right now. So you go to the MetPy GitHub page, which is github.com/unidata/MetPy. And when you're there, you can do things like file issues, contribute with pull requests, and we've discussed those before. But if you click on the 23, at least currently 23 releases, you can see that 7 days ago, MetPy 0.11.0 was released. At the top, notice this is the final release that is going to support Python 2.7. Python 3 has been around for quite some time now and is officially becoming unsupported at the beginning of the year, so there won't be security fixes or anything. And so we are doing a hard cut over to Python 3 with the next release. It's really not that hard to update your code from Python 2 to Python 3, and there are a lot of resources out there on how to do it. Unfortunately, these kinds of changes are sometimes disruptive, but at some point, the maintainers of core Python, as well as all the packages, have to be able to let some of the older versions go. We also have the API changes, so these are things that could potentially break code. So one thing to note would be, for example, we dropped our copy of the Viridis color map. So you should be using it directly from matplotlib now. That's another one of those things that we had been supporting for legacy users. Things like the ageostrophic wind arguments. So right now you'll get a future warning. We've talked about deprecations and future warnings before, that we're going to be changing the function signature with MetPy 1.0, so it's going to look like this and be more consistent with the rest of the library. We've also provided you a path to go ahead and be able to do that by importing ageostrophic wind from metpy.future. So that lets you use the new function signature, and then when 1.0 is released, all you have to do is just import ageostrophic wind from metpy.calc as you normally would. And there are a smattering of other things here as well, some deprecated things that were finally removed in this release. And then we get to highlights. So this is a list of some of the great new things that have been added. We also have contributors listed, as well as issues that are closed and the pull requests that close them, and which pull requests have been merged for this release. So 78 different pull requests went into this release. If we look at the highlights, we've got some bug fixes, some updates to not requiring parsecf when using Xarray. This is a big one. The Xarray accessor is automatically converting the percent symbol to the unit percent, which was causing pain for a lot of folks with things like relative humidity. And we've added an angles to direction. So we had direction to angle before, but now we can go the other way as well. And what I want to talk about are a few of the new calculations. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to a notebook. And then we're going to import metpy.calc as mpcalc. And from metpy.units, import units. So the first thing that we'll look at is that angle to direction. This might be really useful if you're trying to do something like build a sentence that's going to be read by a text-to-speech or something like that. You would want to say, and the wind is 25, or maybe 25 degrees. It'd be more useful to give an approximate direction that a human user can understand. So from mpcalc, we're going to use the angle to direction. Notice I use tab completion there. I'm going to go ahead and make up some angles here. Don't forget your units. So if I run that, we see north, north-northeast, northeast, east-northeast, and east. Using the level keyword argument, you can specify whether you want all of these or just north, northeast, east, or just northeast, southwest. So you can specify what level of detail you want. All of this, of course, can be found on the documentation page or by using Shift-Tab. So for example, here's the level of detail. 3 is the default, 2, and then 1. The other useful keyword argument, we could say full equals true, and now we would get something that our text-to-speech could read and a user would easily understand. So the wind is so many knots at north-northeast, or from the north-northeast. So this would be an easy way to accomplish some of those goals or make some nice printed reports. We've got a lot of specific humidity calculations, but another has been added. So this will give you specific humidity from dew point. So I can give a temperature, so we've got, say, 25 degrees Celsius, and a pressure. And there we get our dimensionless specific humidity. These last two calculations that I want to show you are really useful when interpreting METARs. So METARs give you altimeter settings, which are not really all that useful to us meteorologically. We need to convert those to a station pressure or to sea level pressure. So we now have provided a way to do that. So first, let's go with altimeter to station pressure. So I've looked up what the current altimeter setting is for an airport that is near to me right now. And it is currently 30.26, and then just a terrible unit, inches of mercury. But this is one of the great things about having unit awareness. The runway is at 1,287 feet. And I want my answer in hectopascals. So there we go. My station pressure is 978.32 hectopascals. If I wanted to get that as sea level pressure, altimeter to sea level pressure. Again, 30.26 units are inches of mercury, 1,287 feet. And we also need to specify the temperature here. So it is 70 degrees Fahrenheit out as I record this. And I also want that in hectopascals. So we have sea level pressure of 1,023.9 hectopascals. These are just a few of the great additions to MetPy 0.11, as well as some upgrades to things like the barbs, if you're using the simplified plotting interface, and some unit awareness being added to downsampling, as well as a few other little quality of life improvements. So I encourage you to go take a look at those release notes. Use MetPy 0.11. Remember, you just conda update MetPy. You might have to specify a channel, but we've got a whole video on how to do that. And let us know of any problems you find via the various support channels that are listed in the comments of the video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on next week's MetPy Monday.